Hello, everyone, and welcome in this new episode of Pharmacist 1% podcast. I'm very happy to be here with Dr. Sorin Tamas, that is a pharmacist in Ireland. And it will be very interesting being with you today because we will talk about people. People are the most important asset in the companies like pharmacies as well. And Sorin is a pharmacist that he owns its own company that recruits pharmacists from Europe and abroad as well, and other countries as well, into Ireland. And of course, he's a pharmacist, very experienced pharmacist, and he can provide a lot of important thoughts. So welcome, Sorin, and welcome in this new podcast. How are you, Sorin?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to share with everyone who's following you useful information. So hopefully their time will be worth it to join us.
Thanks to you, Sorin. I introduced you, but I think that it's better if we go deep in that. So the first question that I would ask you is about how did you start working in Ireland? So what's your background? How did you start to recruit other pharmacists into Ireland? You know, having like a generic introduction about yourself.
Sure, of course. So I came to Ireland 5 years ago, and I'm Romanian. So I came from Romania. I was supervising pharmacist in Romania for 10 years, and then I decided it's time for a change. So I only speak English, so it had to be an English-speaking country. So I was choosing between UK or Ireland, and I chose Ireland, and I'm glad I did. And when I came here, pharmacy is done almost totally different from any other country in Europe, in Ireland. So my adaptation was a bit hard. So the first 3 months were, giving me a bit of a headache with wrapping my head around the way they do pharmacy here. I couldn't find anything online. I couldn't find anything where materials to learn from. So I kind of learned the hard way. I kept hearing this phrase, you're being thrown in the deep end and you need to learn to swim. So once I got on my feet, I became a supervising pharmacist here, and there was a big crisis of pharmacists. Like there were not enough pharmacists, and everybody was asking for pharmacists. So I saw an opportunity, and I said I could help a lot of pharmacists. I could teach them while they're registering with the Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland. It takes around 3 to 5 months to register. So in those months, I provide them with free training, and I recruited them for Irish community pharmacies. I was able to help a lot of people. It brings me fulfillment because the pharmacy owner is happy because the pharmacist arrives here with training, so he doesn't have to start from scratch. The pharmacist is happy because his adaptation is way easier because of the training I provide them. So that's why I decided to open my own company. It's called Kamiq Recruitment because I went through the process the hard way. And by sharing my knowledge, I could make the whole process easier for those who came to Ireland through my company. So that's my background over there.
Great, very interesting. As a pharmacist myself, I read, about the shortage of pharmacists. Pretty much not only about Italy, but also about Ireland and other countries. Both from Italy and from Romania as well. A lot of pharmacists, go abroad for looking in new opportunities. And the second question, well, it's about this. You manage a lot of pharmacists from a lot of countries. What do you think about this kind of situation where, like Italian or Romanian pharmacists moving into other countries?
Yeah, so it's a global community now. So pharmacists have opportunities in other countries as well. So it's no longer a competition between, say, all the pharmacists in Italy fighting for pharmacists to retain the best talent. They have to fight against pharmacies that would like to recruit pharmacists from Italy, say from the UK or from Ireland, and they could afford higher salaries. So that would mean that pharmacies in Italy would have to step up with wages, and it's all this competition has gone global now. I have pharmacists literally from all over the world that are trying to come to Ireland. Once news got out that there's a shortage of pharmacists in Ireland, I have a lot of applications. Like I have 706, I believe, pharmacists in a WhatsApp group, and they're all training and doing their exams and trying to register with the Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland. I have a lot of European ones. I have a lot of Italian pharmacists. I have Portuguese. I have Polish, Romanian, Hungarian. I think there's no country that's left that I haven't seen pharmacists trying to come here. And I think it's the times we live in. The times offer a lot of flexibility, a lot of opportunities that were not there in the past. So I think pharmacists are trying to make their life, by design, so they can design their life the way they want to. And I think an English-speaking country like Ireland is very appealing to them. But I see that in a lot of countries that they're struggling to find talent and to retain talent, because it's hard to retain it just because of all the opportunities that are around. For example, in Ireland, the pharmaceutical industry is very strong. So community pharmacies are trying to retain talent to keep them from going from the community pharmacy to industry. So, I just think in the times we live in, we have the most opportunities that have ever been available to pharmacists or any other profession for that matter.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I completely agree with this because maybe back then there were no opportunities like this, and it was easier to retain a pharmacist in their own pharmacies. Now you don't have to compete with other pharmacies, but you have to compete with pharmacies abroad in other countries, because it's so much easy to get in touch with, as an example, with your own company, as an example, because you start getting in touch with other pharmacies even when they are in their own country, right? You start to get in touch with them, you start talking, you start understanding their desire. So yes, I absolutely agree. I don't know if you share the thing that is like when a pharmacist wants to move abroad, it's like a failure both for its own country and both for the entrepreneur that is working for. So I don't know if
Yeah.
you share this point of view, because I think that is pretty much like this,
Yeah, so I have a saying. My saying is, I'm only one button away. So in this day and age, we can benefit from the internet and all the knowledge available. So I'm very willing to share my knowledge that I have of the Irish pharmacy system. So it's hard for entrepreneurs to keep up. I admit that everybody is innovating, and my own company is innovating. No one has ever done this before. All the other recruitment companies are still classic. The recruiter has no idea about pharmacy whatsoever. He's just there to make the connection between the pharmacist and the employer, and then the recruiter disappears. Whereas I start training the pharmacists that work with me through my company. I start training them for free. I bring them here, and then once they start working here, I keep working with them. And not only that, but I add them to a WhatsApp group with over 120 pharmacists that are all working in Ireland. So they feel supported when they start and they have a question, because in Ireland, everybody asks the pharmacists when they have a question. But who does the pharmacist ask? So I innovated in the sense that I created a community where if a pharmacist texts in a question in our WhatsApp group, we all jump in and try to help him and answer his question. So you feel supported, you feel that you're not alone. So it's hard for other entrepreneurs to actually keep up with that, because like every company is trying to innovate in their own way. And if you don't think, how can I improve my business? How can I retain talent? How can I give them opportunities in my company? They will find opportunities in other companies or in other countries, for that matter. It has, like, competition has gotten, it's way bigger, the competition, than it used to be. So I did my part. I innovated. I made a connection between teaching and recruiting. And I have a saying as well, that once you come into my world, you never leave, because I'm not your typical recruiter where I bring you in, you get the job, and I disappear. I bring you in, I train you for free. You start the job, you come into my community, and you never leave that community. So you're in a foreign country where you don't know anybody, but yet I include you in a community from day one. So you never feel like you're all alone, you're a stranger. You feel supported. You feel that you have someone that has your back, and you have people to reach out to that are friendly, that are helpful. So yeah, it is hard for other companies to keep up with that. I haven't seen anybody innovate like that yet. So most of them wouldn't be able because they're not pharmacists, so they wouldn't have the knowledge to share.
Yeah, very interesting. And you mentioned a lot of interesting parts, related not only about the salary, but only, being supported because, of course, you are not living in your country. So this is very important. You mentioned even other things that are very interesting related to entrepreneurs, and like, the relationship that that the pharmacist has with the entrepreneur, So the question is about this, I manage also, a lot of pharmacy owners as a freelance pharmacist here in Italy, and they always telling me like I don't find any pharmacist. I offer, as an example, 2,500 euro net for month, but I don't find any pharmacist. Or as an example, I offer only 5 days a week job, so you can stay at home 2 days a week, as an example, the weekend. But the question here, because of that, what do you think about the job that pharmacists want? Because in my opinion, I think that is very personal. As an example, a lot of people want money, so they really want to work a lot of shift, a lot of long hours shifts, and they don't care about rest, and everything's related. But I think that other people want to have, like a life that is pretty much relaxed. So with no working on weekends. So in your experience that you manage a lot of pharmacies, what they are looking for? Because this is a very important question for entrepreneurs,
Yeah, like I said earlier, everyone is looking for a life by design, by
Yeah,
their own design.
yeah,
So every pharmacist is different, and they all want to design their life. And like you said, some choose to work longer hours. Some want a better work-life balance, so they want fewer days per week or fewer hours per day. But regardless of what they choose, they need to feel that they have control to design their life. That's what the modern world has brought us. We have more control now than ever over the design of our lives. So if I want to spend more time with the family, I want to have that power that my employer will listen to me. And when I say, I just want to work so many hours a week. If I want longer hours, I want my employer to listen to me and say, okay, I'll offer you the longer hours because you needed the money. You need more money. If I'm stressed out, if I'm burned out, I want my employer to listen to me and take off my workload and give it to the technicians or other members of staff so I can be relieved of pressure. So yeah, people don't want the old way of having a job where you sacrifice, where you hustle and grind, where you do the hard work and you put up with stress, and you come home late, and it's not like that anymore. People want to have control, to design their life. So entrepreneurs that understand that will thrive because they will attract the best talent, and they will be successful because if you have a talented team that feels supported, that feels in control, they will make your business profitable. They will make progress in your business. Whereas if you don't adapt and you still think that just because you pay them once a month, they are supposed to sacrifice their life, their health, their family time, and put up with stress and pressure and hard work, you're not going to be a successful entrepreneur, because the best talent will migrate to those companies that give them the opportunity to design their own life.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely agree. So that's, I think that you really got the point, because it's very tough being an entrepreneur in this area, because you really have to think that employees are very different compared to others. It's not like giving them a job and pay them a salary and that's it. So they are different people. They have different interests, they have really different things to think about it. So it's very tough, so very, very interesting that we have shared this thing, So another question that I really wanted to talk with you, it's about the profession of the prescribing pharmacist, because I really like to read about this thing, and I have seen a YouTube video of the health minister of the Ireland that mentioned this kind of profession that is starting in Ireland. I don't know if you have read something about this, or so it's something that hasn't started yet. What's your opinion about this?
So one thing I learned about Ireland, nothing happens fast in Ireland. Everything happens slow. So we still don't have electronic prescriptions in Ireland, like not the QR code ones anyway. We just have some emails that count as electronic prescriptions. So what I've seen is Ireland kind of follows the UK model. So whatever the UK does, 5 years or 10 years away, that you would find Ireland doing the same thing. So basically, they let the UK implement stuff and allow pharmacists to prescribe, which is what they do in the UK. And Ireland watches and says, okay, apparently it worked in the UK, so let's try to implement that in Ireland as well. So it will happen. Pharmacists will be allowed to prescribe in Ireland, which comes with good parts and bad parts. For example, the Irish pharmacy crisis is kind of coming to an end. There's still a need for pharmacists, but it's not a crisis anymore. Whereas 2 years ago, pharmacies were kind of limiting their opening hours, or they were actually closing on weekends because they didn't have pharmacists. It was that bad. Now it's not even close to being that bad, but if the role of the pharmacist expands and they will be allowed to prescribe, a lot of pharmacists will be allowed to work in doctors' surgeries, because doctors are overloaded with patients now and have a huge workload. And if the pharmacist could prescribe for minor ailments, a lot of pharmacists will choose to go and work in doctors' surgeries from Monday to Friday, no weekends, and all the benefits. So community pharmacy will most likely find itself in a crisis again, where a large number of pharmacists leave the community pharmacy in a short period of time. But that's another opportunity that modern times present. So entrepreneurs will have to innovate again, and they will have to adapt again. But yeah, it will happen. Pharmacists will be allowed to prescribe. It's just that the implementation of the process will take a while.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, very interesting, Sorin, because it's a model that we are implementing even in Italy. So it's a very interesting thing. But as you mentioned, if it's something that moves in a high level from the beginning, probably a lot of pharmacists they will choose to work in a studio, by visiting patients, by prescribing, and so it's not something easy. It's something that she mentioned also the previous pharmacist in the previous podcast. So it's something that we all share. But it's something that also, it gives authority, to the pharmacist, because unfortunately, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, a lot of pharmacists, are seen from customers like salesmen. If they are always behind the counter in a normal community pharmacies. So I don't know if you agree this part that the prescribing pharmacist profession gives authority to the pharmacist.
I totally agree. It does, yeah. And in fact, like it doesn't happen in most countries, but in Ireland, for 2 years in a row, when they did a survey and they asked people on the street whose advice do you trust more? Number one, 2 years in a row at least. I didn't check if the latest year is the same. The pharmacist, the community pharmacist, was number one in trust when it came to the patient's trust to their advice. So they were above doctors, they were above priests, they were above policemen, they were above any other profession that was in the survey. So people, the biggest number of people answered when they were asked, whose advice do you trust most? They answered the community pharmacist. So trust is very high in Ireland towards the pharmacist, but prescribing, giving pharmacists the opportunity to prescribe will enhance that trust even more. And I think it's well deserved that the pharmacist gets recognized as a very trusted healthcare professional.
Yeah, absolutely agree. We have mentioned a lot of things about moving into the Ireland. I really wanted to ask you about the exam languages because, unfortunately, a lot of people think that is all easy. I will be a pharmacist in Ireland, but they don't know that they have to study and the exam it's very tough. I made this exam in 2022. I took 7, so I was able to move to Ireland. So, but of course, then I decided to stay in Italy as a freelance. But if pharmacists want to move to Ireland, the only exam is IELTS 7, right? Or there are any other exams allowed to being a pharmacist?
They can choose between IELTS, TOEFL, Cambridge, and OET. So
Okay.
there are 4 exams that are recognized by the PSI, by the Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland. You can choose any one of them, and the PSI website has the necessary scores, but it's an academic level English exam, whichever you choose. It's an academic level English exam, so it's very hard to pass, and 9 out of 10 pharmacists that I've worked with have failed their first English exam by 0.5, so by only a little, because they had good conversational English, but good conversational English will not help you get the necessary score to register with the PSI, because you need academic level English exam. So that's why I collaborate with a company, with an online company that trains my pharmacists in order for them to be able to pass the English exam with the grade that is required by the PSI. And I advise anyone that's following this podcast, if you want to come to work in Ireland as a pharmacist, do invest in some preparation with professional people that do that for a living, train doctors, nurses, and pharmacists to learn English so they can pass the exam. So invest in that and you will not regret it, because if you don't invest, you will lose a lot of time. And another thing I've noticed, a lot of pharmacists want to come here and to Ireland for a while and then do the English exam, thinking that if they live in Ireland, they will be able to upgrade their English to the level that is requested by the PSI. But I have never, out of tens of pharmacists, I've never seen one that has come to Ireland, and just because he lived in Ireland for a while, he was able to pass the English exam. Because you come to Ireland and you learn conversational level of English, and that will never get you the grade you need to register with the PSI. You need academic level English exam.
Yeah, very interesting. So we have 10 minutes left, and it's a topic that I wanted to ask you because we have already mentioned this topic, but probably the pharmacists that will see this podcast will ask this question. It's about money, As an example, here in Italy, you can get as an employee pharmacist, you can get an average of 1,500 to 2,000 euro net for month. And as a freelance, you can get, of course, it depends on how much you work, but as a freelance pharmacist, you can earn starting from 2,000 to 6,000 euro net for month. Of course, then you have to pay taxes as a freelance, And about the Ireland, it seems like the salaries are very good. I remember when I was looking for a job in Ireland, I've seen, as an example, salaries starting from 60,000 euro to 100,000 euro for a year. So I don't know if you share this. Of course, it depends on the experience, but it seems like Ireland, it's very good about money and salaries in general.
Yes. So salaries are way better than in any other European country as far as pharmacists are concerned. You can easily have 4,000, 4,500, maybe even 5,000 net as an employed pharmacist. If you have some experience as a locum pharmacist or a freelancer, as you call it, I can say from my own experience, 2 years ago when everyone was looking for pharmacists, during summer, I earned 10,000, 11,000 euros net, so after taxes, because the need was so high. So everybody was looking for pharmacists and was begging you to come and work for them. But yes, salaries are still very high. Now that being said, I don't know if you had a look at rent prices when you try to come to Ireland. Rent is very high.
Madness.
Rent is very expensive. So that's what drives the salaries so high, because rent is very, very expensive in Ireland. There's a housing crisis, which is kind of being resolved right now because there are a lot of buildings that are being built right now, tens of thousands of apartments and houses that are being built. So hopefully the prices of rent will go down, but you can definitely make good money in Ireland if you want to increase your income. Ireland should definitely be on the map for you. It's a no-brainer because I kind of know the salaries across Europe, and none of them come up as high as the salaries that you have the possibility to earn in Ireland. So I have spoken with hundreds of pharmacists now, and they all like the money that they're getting in Ireland. It's good money. It's good money. So even though it's not as high as it used to be 2 years ago, it's still better than I think anywhere else in Europe. So it is good money.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree. It's been an amazing podcast. We have shared a lot of different things, a lot of different ideas. We talked about people because, as mentioned before this podcast, people are the best asset, for the companies, including pharmacists. So it's been a pleasure having your thoughts about all this. And yeah. So thank you very much, Sorin. We stay in touch, and
Sure.
thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks to you. Thank you, everyone watching this podcast, and see you soon in the next episode of podcast. Bye.